Morning, Stuart.
Morning, Tristan. Is Graham? Oh no, Graham is there.
Yeah, Graham's there in a car, living life on the edge. Sounds very impressed.
Graham's about to depart to go and say hello to his host, so I'll catch you guys up later.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye, Sam. Good luck.
Bye, thank you.
So, Sam, how long have you been doing Earthwatch?
So officially, I've been Earth watching for 3 months, but I've been citizen sciencing since September 22.
Oh, right, brilliant. Because as luck would have it, yesterday I had a meeting with a council who's trying to in Somerset, and they're trying to make a baseline of their ecological sort of status and what's important. And we were talking about, how on earth do you do that, and where do you get the advice from, and all that stuff. And we mentioned, he's been using citizens to go out and try to spot pyramid orchids and things.
Nice.
So that's very timely what you're going to talk about.
Good. Well, hopefully I can inspire. Obviously I'm water-based, but I mean, goodness, citizen science is so important for every subject, like whether it's counting flowers, butterflies, anything really.
Is this the same as
challenge.
Water Blitz?
Sorry, Stuart.
Say again, Stuart.
Is this the same as a Water Blitz?
So we call them water blitzes. So we provide them with a scientific kit, which I'll explain. And they go out and collect data, and then we can analyze that.
There is a Water Blitz network, isn't there, across the country?
Oh, I don't know.
I've never even heard of Water Blitz, I'm ashamed to say.
I think that there's a national sort of coordinating network, and if you contact them, they'll give you out crib sheets on how to set about doing it.
We've done Bio Blitz in the local churchyard.
Oh.
And we did Water Blitz.
Good. I'm glad to hear it.
Swimming, isn't it?
It's the time. Still a minute to go, I think. Yeah, but I guess the challenge is getting people to continue to work on it. I can imagine people start with a lot of enthusiasm, but everybody seems to be very time poor and busy these days.
Keeping motivation up. Yeah, keeping motivation can be hard. But generally I try and do it with coffee and cake.
That works for everything. I do that on so many volunteer things.
Yeah, we do it for the litter picking. We only come because there's a bacon butty at the end.
Yeah, winner every time.
And so Sam, do you collate the data across the country to produce sort of national views of things in Earthwatch?
So as Earthwatch, we have just done the Great UK Water Blitz, where we had well over 1,000 sets of data, which we've been able to coordinate, and actually we've just released yesterday. So yesterday, the results of that, just to evidence, mainly because the Environment Agency has been so poor at monitoring the rivers for themselves over the years. We've been able to use the citizen science data to actually go out and collect data ourselves, and then collaborate, coordinate that with their data. So yeah, it's as I'll explain, it's scientific data, and we use it, and it can be powerful. We just need to make sure that the Environment Agency are willing to listen.
And I guess, I'm sure you're going to tell us, but I guess you have to make sure that everybody's collecting the same data in a sort of consistent way.
Yes, consistency is very important.
Yeah. Okay. I don't know how, I know more people come in, but we seem to have very few at the moment. But I think we're waiting for Graham, who's in a car, trying to get somewhere and is late. But I suggest we start. So, Sam, we're very grateful for you to come and talk to us. Sam's from Earthwatch, and she's going to tell us about citizen science and how we can all get involved. So, Sam, over to you. And when you finish your presentation, then we'll have questions and answers.
Yeah, fabulous. Well, I'm going to keep it fairly informal. I apologise for my terrible presentation. It's sort of thrown together in the last hour, admittedly, but hopefully it will just inspire you to find out what we're doing and maybe get involved. And
Can you share? So I'm not an expert on Zoom. Can you share your screen so that we can see your presentation, or do I
am
need to share it?
just about to try and figure out how to do that. I've actually not used Zoom. PowerPoint as.
If you go down to the bottom of the screen, it says share screen.
Yeah, it should say share screen.
Screen or documents or advanced. It says show PowerPoint as background. Let's show PowerPoint as. This is where I should have done this beforehand.
Just try it and see. As far as I can see, I've given you permission to do it.
Oh, fab.
You don't need to. Yeah, you don't need to do advanced. Just go on screens and are you on one monitor, one screen?
Yeah, just on the one.
Yeah,
monitor.
so then just share your whole desktop, and that's the easiest. Cool.
Okay.
Not on advanced. Yeah.
Thank you, John. Great to have an expert in the room.
No, it's just.
And then we'll see all your secrets.
Honestly, I had to close everything on my computer yesterday. I had so much open. There's desktop.
Here's Graham's joined us now.
There you go. He might. Okay, share entire screen.
Yeah,
share.
That's it. Hooray! Well done.
If I go to
Perfect.
that one, and then do it as. How can I just do it as a?
You do it at the bottom.
Go to the top where it says slideshow, Ray.
Oh, there.
Yep.
From the beginning.
Yep.
There we go. Can everyone see?
Perfect.
I'm going to take that as a yes.
Yep.
Yep.
Fab. Okay. I tell you what I then can't see is I can't see all my cheeky little notes that I made alongside it.
Yeah, that won't be possible unless you have two screens.
Oh, there we go. I'm learning every day. So what I could do then is, can I just show you? It's not going to be very good.
What you can do is pull it up on your phone, Sam.
Oh, I've not been that organised, Graham.
Sam, you could also share your notes.
I'm so used to using Teams. Zoom has completely thrown me.
We wouldn't mind you
seeing and we'll just see the notes with you.
Yeah, well, let's do that. How can I do escape?
There we go. Then hit escape.
There we are, that's fine. There you are, that's perfect.
Fab. Okay, so I'm going to move your lovely faces all over to one side so I can see it. I'm so sorry. So let's start from the beginning. Move my little notes down. I need two screens to do this. So I'm from Earthwatch, and I'm part of the Freshwater Watch programme. Earthwatch is an environmental charity with science at our heart, and each programme we're aiming to connect people with nature. There's a huge amount of disconnection we find with people. Now everyone's working at home and constantly looking at screens. It's really nice to give people the opportunity to go out and connect with nature and see what they've been missing, or even just notice, what is now missing that might have been there when they were younger or as children. So we're looking to connect people so that they can then use their data that they collect to empower and facilitate change, whether it's as themselves and their behavior or environment, and can use their data scientifically or send that and make policy change for local councils as well. So as Freshwater Watch, we've been collecting globally for over 10 years now. Scientifically based, we've used it to write over 40 scientific documents, and yes, it's globally accepted by most equivalent of environment agencies around the world. Unfortunately, at the minute, England is the only place where the Environment Agency is reluctant to use our data. which is a shame, but it is something we're pushing for, especially with the events happening in the next few weeks. We're going to see what changes we can push for, and then we've got that data. We can use that data. It's not disappeared. It won't go out of date. We can now use that to help make change. So the things that we are looking for, I can now. Oh, sorry, I'm hitting buttons. So the things we're looking for when we're collecting data is your location, your body type. So because we're freshwater, we can only do rivers, streams, lakes, and ponds. We struggle, or our test kits struggle with anything with saline in it. So if it's a tidal river, especially by estuaries or by the coast, our kits will struggle with that. So it's generally stick to freshwater. We're looking at turbidity, so how clear is the water? That tells us quite a lot about the health of the river, how much light gets down to the plants at the bottom, or how much light, you know, creatures living in the river can see. Turbidity also affects fish life. We find that if it's really poor clarity of water, fish become less resistant to disease. Their egg larvae isn't as successful at hatching either. Watercolor plays a part in this. We also ask during our testing to do sort of more general observations. So we're looking at plant life, animal life. Have you seen a kingfisher? Have you seen a fish? And we get a little celebration when we do see a fish. Signs of pollution we also look for as well. You know, is there litter in the river, on the water, around, and has it come from, you know, fly tipping, or is it just recreational and someone who's just been lazy and tossed something in the river instead of the bin? We're looking at the land use around where your testing site will be as well. Is it agriculture? Is it commercial? Is there a pipe that's flowing into the river and contributing to that pollution? And obviously we're going to be testing for nutrient pollution, so your nitrates and your phosphates. And although nitrates and phosphates themselves are not dangerous to humans, we definitely use them as evidence of other things that will be potentially in the water. So, you know, when you've got large amounts of phosphates, we'll be looking at sewage, just because of the way that human process as phosphates. Not only is our drinking water dosed with phosphates by the water companies to protect us from the water in the pipes, we as humans, it's a byproduct of us, and we produce even more phosphates. And then by the time it gets to a sewage treatment works, most of the time those phosphates are then not stripped out of that water before then being released back into the environment. So when we see high phosphates, we're generally pointing more towards sewage pollution. Nitrates, again, it does come proportionally from sewage treatment works, but then we're looking more towards agriculture and fertilization. Now, as we said earlier, consistency is key when we're taking these samples. We've got to make sure that our citizen scientists are trained so that we're going to be using the same method exactly the same time every time, using standardized equipment. Again, trying to make sure that your general observations are all going to be looking at the same thing, and we're all singing from the same song sheet, as it were. And same sort of descriptive consistency, so we all understand what brown water is, we all understand how to measure that turbidity in the water. Other things that we look for when we're testing are algae. You know, is there an oily sheen on the water that could be leading more towards road runoff pollution, so from cars, or leaky oil drips on cars, or petrol stations, stuff like that. And then algae gives us a good idea of the nutrient levels as well. The more nutrients in the water, the more that the algae can feed on it, and then it just grows and grows, blocking out light, and then starting the cause of many of the issues that we're seeing. Your watercolor plays a part as well. Green, you're looking more towards nutrient pollution. You know, there's more algal growth. Brown would be pointing more towards maybe runoff from a farmer's field, and you've just got high sediment levels there. If you're looking at white and grey, it's sort of more of a warning sign towards pollution of sewage, and we generally warn people if it's grey or milky, just take extra care, and then the results will speak for themselves. In terms of collecting, what we do is we ask you to test a sample of water in the cup that you can see on the screen. There's a line halfway around it, and that collects 1.5 milliliters of water exactly. In the tubes that you get, you have a set amount of reactant in there as well. It'll be just a white powder, which will then react and turn pink. It's all purple for phosphates. So as long as you've got the correct amount of water being completely sucked up into the tube, that will give you a scientific number and result of how high that nitrate and phosphate is. We've got a little disc in the bottom right corner. It's a Secchi disc, and that's how we measure our turbidity, our clarity of the water. We provide our scientists with a long clear tube, and they fill it up as much as they can until it reaches a set amount of a set number on the side of the tube. So the higher the water level, the lower the number. So 14 is at the top, and then 240 is at the bottom. That, when we then match it with our nitrates and phosphate results and the other general observations, will give you the results of your level of health in the river. So these are the colour cards. So after 3 minutes and 5 minutes, these are the colours that your tubes will turn, and you just run it up the colour chart till it sits between two colours. We go between sort of 0.2 on one all the way up to 10 on nitrates, and 0.02 on phosphates at the bottom all the way up to 1. And we've sort of we've ranged it so that this is going to be showing you evidence of low nutrient pollution sort of results when you get them in this area. You know, we're fairly happy with that. Nutrients are a natural thing. You will find them, and at this level they're fine and shouldn't be causing too much harm to your freshwater body. If we're going into the middle section, there's definitely evidence of nutrient pollution there. If you're finding that occasionally, you know, and sometimes it then drops back down to the first section, then, you know, we'll still say probably you're okay. But once we start getting into that third section, your 5s and 10s on nitrates and your 0.5s and 1 on phosphates, you're looking at high nutrient pollution levels there. And those, on a consistent basis, month after month, your waterway is in trouble. But there's a reason, and we can go in and investigate and find out why. Using our maps, all of your data then gets analysed and uploaded onto our virtual map. You can filter this by dates, whether you then want to look at nitrates or just phosphates or your turbidity levels, and we measure it on a green, amber and red light. Words escaped me. So green being good, amber being, you know, average, moderate, red being high. You've got high nutrient pollutions there, and it's in a poor ecological status. This map has been taken from one of our bigger group catchment areas, which is in the River Evenlode. So running from Moreton and Marsh on the top left there, all the way down to Oxford in the bottom corner. We've got nearly 2,000 samples that have been collected over the past sort of 8 years or so by citizen scientists. They go out on the second Sunday of every month, we'll taste the same site again and again, and we can then look at those data, look at those little clumps, and if it's been green, green, green for 3 months and suddenly we get a red, there's been an issue. Whether if by sewage treatment works, whether they've then sort of released a whole load of raw sewage, or whether a farmer's spread, and it gives us that tool to be able to see if something's gone wrong. Other citizen scientist programs that a lot of our citizen scientists actually take part in are river fly counts. River flies are the little bugs that live in the rivers. So you've got your mayfly, caddisfly, stonefly, and each of these species gives you an idea of how healthy the river is. They each have their own, I guess, level of pollution tolerance. So mayflies are quite delicate. If there's too much phosphate in the water, then actually they really struggle to attach their eggs onto the stones. They sort of use a glue to attach their eggs onto the bottom of the river, and if there's too much phosphate, that glue just doesn't stick, and the tide just and the current just takes the eggs away, then reducing the population. They're like the canaries of the river. So if there's no river flies, the river is in real trouble. But if you've got an abundance, then it just means that the health of the river's been there, the populations have been allowed to grow. We've also supplied them priority habitats training, and sort of we go out and we do water vole surveys as well, which is quite fun. On the even load especially, we thought water voles were extinct and had been for many years. And we suddenly got an email last month going, guys, is this a water vole? And we all sort of had a little party. We're so excited to see this one little rodent just munching on grass on the side of the river. And yeah, we're now sort of raised that awareness, and I'm constantly getting a feed of, oh my goodness, yeah, I thought it was a rat, but it's actually a vole. So in terms of things that we can do, obviously we've talked about the citizen scientist data that you can collect for the Freshwater Watch program, but little things that you can do which don't involve training and don't involve going out every month and collecting data and that long-term commitment is just switching to river-friendly plant-based cleaning products. I don't know if you've ever read the back of a ferry washing up liquid bottle, you know, and toilet duck as well. There's just so many. You can go into a supermarket, turn around the bottle and read, this product is harmful to aquatic life with long-lasting effects. Now, the reason this is so important is because many of our sewage treatment works don't take the product out of water during that treatment process. All they're doing, from my lovely picture on the left there, is taking out anything that is 6 millimeters or larger. So we're talking wet wipes, we're talking kitchen roll, plastics, sanitary products, anything that's not going to break down. I mean, many of the toilet papers as well, they're so thick, but because the pipes are gravity fed and going to the sewage treatment works, they're still arriving at the sewage treatment works in one big large clump. So just being aware of what you're putting down the toilet, what you're putting down the drains, is going to help the rivers massively. And your water consumption as well. One of the reasons that is contributing to the sewage spills we're having is there's just not the capacity in these sewage treatment works to be able to treat all of us when we have a shower at exactly the same time at 7 or 8 o'clock in the morning, or all flush our loos at the same time, or especially during wet weather, then sort of maybe turn on our washing machines. And the general statistic at the minute is that as an individual, we are using about 146 litres of fresh water per day per person, which is quite a lot. It's globally, we're one of the highest consumers of fresh water. So if we can protect this resource, use a bit less water, not only will it stop, you know, the sewage release being such a poor quality, but actually there is concern of fresh water availability in the years to come. You know, our population is growing so much, our water companies haven't been upgrading that infrastructure to be able to treat it quickly enough. Climate change, and with the pollution of rivers as well, our reservoirs, even after the wettest winter on record, are not being able to be filled up because the pollution is just too high in the rivers to fill the reservoirs up. So I'm aware that I spoke quite quickly through that, and I'm very sorry, but hopefully I gave you a really good idea of what it do, what we try to achieve, and I'm happy to answer any questions that you might have.
So, oops, Sam, that's really fabulous. Thank you. And thank you so much for your time and for being very sort of intriguing in the stuff you're giving us. There's a bunch of questions in the chat. Are you able to see the chat from where are you? If you'd like to start with those, and then we'll go to the people who actually wish to ask live questions.
So at the top, I've got one from
Wendy, I think, was it?
So Wendy, does this include canals as well? Yep, definitely. This is fresh water. It's all part of that sort of ecosystem. You know, fish, birds, insects, everything still rely on canals as fresh water and as a home. So it's really important that we're looking after those as well. What else have we got? Bamboo toilet paper. That's an interesting one. I have made the switch to bamboo toilet paper, but I'll make a confession. With the kids, when we do their experiments of them, we have 2-litre water bottles filled up. So we fill them halfway up and we'll put a wet wipe in one, we'll put toilet paper in another or kitchen roll in another and get them to shake it as much as we can to see how quickly that toilet paper breaks up. And I'm horrified to say that my bamboo toilet paper was not breaking up very quickly at all. So I honestly don't know what the answer is. I mean, I've moved to bamboo toilet paper for the environmental reasons of trying to save trees. But I'm not actually sure where we stand on how good it is at breaking up within the sewage treatment process. I guess the answer is do the experiment, put a bit of toilet roll in a bottle, give it a shake and see how quickly it breaks up.
Very practical. Okay, and Kirsten has her hand up.
Hi. You record past that it was every second Sunday in the month that you do the collection. I'm intrigued as to how that works with volunteers, because obviously it's great to make a commitment, but people do go on holiday and, you know, life does go a bit sideways somehow.
Yeah.
What happens does that somehow cause you a really big problem with the data if the odd one is missed? Does that, how do you work around that to make it more
what we do is
manageable?
we say, you know, if you can try and take it as close as you can to that date. So whether it's a Saturday or the Monday, or
Okay, so there's a bit of flexibility.
Holiday, yeah, so if you go away on holiday, we've got a group chat so we can coordinate between ourselves. I mean, we've got a group, I'm in Moreton and Marsh, so we've got a group of about 10 people. So someone just put on the group chat, I'm really sorry, I'm going away. Can anyone just do my sample site this weekend? And we can do it that way. But the reason we try and get it all done at the same time on the same day is because obviously that water's moving. So if we can take a snapshot of where it is, because by the time it's gone from upstream to downstream, you know, a day later, they'll be testing not the same water.
I appreciate that. That was why I was worried it might invalidate your data somehow if someone didn't hit the...
No, I mean, again, we appreciate it's completely voluntary and we're so grateful for people collecting data at all. So, and every bit of data is valuable. So even if it is 2 weeks late, it's still given us that data. It's given us those numbers and we can work with that.
Brilliant. Can I have a part B while I'm here? Forgive me.
Yeah.
Do you have an even spread of volunteers over the country, or do you find certain areas are more active at participating?
At the minute, I mean, I refer to the Even Low Catchment Partnership because we have been given funding. So actually we've got the money to be able to get the tests to citizen scientists so that they can test. But for other people around the country, I think there's 3 groups. So there's the Even Load, the Chess and the Crane rivers, which have all got funding, long-term funding. Other groups around the country would then have to find their own funding. It's around £400 for a year's worth of kit and reagent. Plus, you know, you can then get support from Earthwatch staff as well, who can then help analyze your data and get you to understand what it means. It's just a case of signing up. You can become a group leader or a group manager and then create your own little group and start collecting that data.
Fascinating. Great. Thanks very much.
Nice.
Tristram.
Sam, thank you very much for that. You're in the freshwater team, but does Earthwatch do the same sort of thing for land-based collection? And
so we've actually been working on we've been working on an agricultural program at the minute. It's mainly based in the Netherlands, but we're looking to bring it more into the UK and use it within the UK. I don't know very many details. I'm assuming that it's going to be around the same sort of structure,
right.
but that's definitely something that Earthwatch is looking into.
Okay, thank you.
Stuart.
Hi, thank you. I thought that was a really interesting presentation, and I'm fired up with enthusiasm. How would I get started doing this? Where do we get kits from? And are school children involved in any of these? And if so, what sort of age would be appropriate?
So I'll go with your last question first.
Thank you.
So as part of the Evenlow catchment where I am, I'm actually engaging with primary schools at the minute, primary and sort of the first few years of secondary. So we've started with year 6. We've got 5 schools who have created their own little like eco warrior groups. And actually I'm going to a school presentation and assembly tomorrow to see what their findings are, because they've looked at all the data and they've made their own little pie charts and they've analysed their own data. So we're really trying to get children involved in this as much as they can, just so that they become more aware of the problems, become again connected with nature more, and as an educational thing we can make use of that as well. How you can get involved, whereabout are you based, Stuart?
I'm in Great Dunmow in Essex, and we have the River Chelmer running through our patch.
Okay, well, my suggestion was send an email over to water@earthwatch.org.uk. And yeah, just make some inquiries as to how you can start that group. Obviously, you'd have to try and find some funding, whether that's, you know, a group of you can all put donations in, or whether you can approach your local council and see if they'd like to get involved and try and support you in funding.
I am a local councillor, so
there we go. Yeah, make some inquiries and see how we can support you.
thank you.
Was there any other questions? I can't remember.
No, I think
There
that was
was,
it.
I think oh, sorry, not
So,
Stuart.
Stuart, I know that was a list.
And then there was John, who goes next.
Yeah, thanks for the talk. I'm going to ask you, do you collaborate with other groups? Particularly, we are right beside the River Wye, River Action, and of course our good friend Angela Jones, the wild swimmer, who's such a character and such a powerful force, you know.
Yeah. So yes, I mean, we're working closely with River Action. At the minute, it's more sort of based towards rowing clubs. I think we're trying, especially with all the regattas that come up, we work closely with them, supply them with our kits and can analyse their data. They take it a bit further and have got funding for E. coli testing, which is something that we are looking into. But we're definitely coordinating and collaborating with lots of other groups. You might have seen Steve Backshall on the television. He's using our water data kits as well. But it's also not just the freshwater testing. We work quite closely with the Riverfly Trust as well. So we're looking at their data and, you know, collaborating and matching up their data findings to what we're finding, and then being able to put a bigger picture on what the health of the river is that way.
Thank you. Thanks.
Okay, and Mike, it's your turn.
Yeah, well, I live in Hay on Wye, which is just inside the Welsh border, and I've been putting up a whole lot of stuff, in the chat. Extinction Rebellion in 2019 in Hay decided that they should look at the effect of pollution on the River Wye, and so they formed the Friends of the Upper Wye, and they decided, or at least we decided, not to brand it XR so that it would get a much wider catchment of people, which I think was quite a wise thing to do. And of course, that has proliferated into what is now called Save the Wye, and all sorts of other organisations before they all joined together. And the citizen science project that's been run is actually providing massively interesting information about what was going on in the river all the way down. And we've been using it, of course, politically, because you were saying, how do you keep people involved and interested? And one of the ways that we do that is by making it very political, by saying, you know, why aren't the authorities doing something about the fact that our rivers are being polluted, and it's in some cases dangerous to swim in them, and apart from the lack of biodiversity and everything else that's going on. And I think we began first of all by and I wasn't involved in this, but by coordinating with Cardiff University to collect the citizen science information. And I'm not quite sure how it's developed since then. but last week we got bathing status for a section of the Warren, and we started to try and get that initially because that would force the authorities to actually test the water on a regular basis. And they, of course, refused and refused and refused. And eventually it was achieved after a lot of pressure. But I mean, this is all related not just to monitoring what's going on in the rivers, but it's related to where does the pollution come from in the first place? Well, we know it comes from sewerage, and we know it comes from agricultural runoff. But in Herefordshire and in Paris, it comes from the proliferation of chicken factories, which we get something like 21 million or 22 million of them. And they have 7 crops a year. They multiply those two figures together, you can see how many millions of chickens. And of course, initially, there was no attempt to try and deal with the externalities, which is the chicken shit. I mean, there were requirements, but there was no enforcement of the requirements in the planning system. So we then started putting pressure on the politicians. And in XR, we can do things which other people can't do, in the sense that we closed down the major manufacturer of soya food, which is Cargill-Lavara, for a day while we ran a march in Hereford. And we put up a website which sent out which enabled people who wanted to respond to the leaflet, which drove people to the website, to bombard the 3 local MPs and the CEO of Cargill-Lavara with what they were doing in order for them to be held accountable for it. And I think over 650 people sent out letters on that particular day. And so we were able to put a lot of pressure, which is direct action pressure, while the organizations that have been setting up, which weren't branded XR, were able to do a whole pile of negotiations. And we still haven't got to where we want to be by any manner of means. And it's largely because of the defunding of the regulatory authorities. It isn't as though we haven't got all the legislation that we need. We do. You know, it's very important for people to understand that who they elect at the next election is really important in terms of whether or not anything's going to be done about this.
Yeah, the only way this is going to be resolved is regulation change at governmental level. I can't tell you who to vote for, but we really need to be careful as to what people are promising, and if they promise it, we need to hold them to those promises. Because, you know, the last time British rivers were fully surveyed was about 2019, and they were meant to be done every few years. And they, again, funding, resources, money, people have all just completely been cut back on, to the point where we're now in trouble. And to get our rivers back to good ecological health is a mammoth task.
Sam, do you know, or does Mike know, in the UK, where do citizens stand on suing companies that are breaking the law? You know?
Well, I don't know about that specifically, but I do know that there is now a huge action being taken against Cargill-Lavara for the pollution that they've undertaken. And that's one particular law firm who's collecting together anybody who's in any way had their life affected by chicken pollution, basically. That's whether they've been ill because of the smells, because they live close to it, because the value of their property has been reduced, their business turnover has been reduced, or whatever it is. And it's a mass action. And it's the same as the action that was taken against Cargill-Lavara in, I think it was in Illinois, in America, which took 7 or 8 years before it was Cargill lost the case. So Cargill is what, the 14th biggest food manufacturing global corporation on the planet. And it's owned by one family, and even the babies are born billionaires. And they've got so many resources that it's very, very difficult to fight them, because we're just minnows, basically. and they play off regulators against specific interests of various sorts. I mean, you can't blame the farmers for wanting to have chicken factories because they need to earn money, and they weren't earning money. And, you know, if I come along with a piece of paper and say, sign this contract, we will guarantee you 5 million over the next 5 years. You will have to invest 2 million to do this. To do that, if you sign the contract, you can go to your bank, you can get the 2 million you need in order to be able to set up this new subsection of your farming business, and you will be in profit for so many years. But you have to buy all of the food from us, and you have to sell all of the chickens to us. So farmers signed up. Why wouldn't you? Because you probably weren't even thinking about anything else except survival, because our agricultural industry is in such a mess. So it's a very complicated set of things. And the thing is that we mustn't think of the farmers as being the enemy, or allowing the farmers to think that we're the enemy. We're all being affected by this. And many of them, I think, understand that. So we're working very hard to talk to them directly and get them involved in initiatives which make them realize that actually we're all in the same ship.
Thank you very much, Mike. Good luck. Good luck with it. Peter.
Hello, Sam. That was great, but my apologies. I missed the last 7 minutes of your talk because I had to take a telephone call. But
sorry.
You may have actually kind of answered the question, which I'm about to say now. But I'm chair of the East Cambridgeshire Climate Action Network, and I was just trying to find your website. I'm not quite sure whether I've got the right Earthwatch. Is there another website called
Earthwatch Europe?
Oh, your Earthwatch Europe, not earthwatch.org.
Oh yeah, we're a global organisation, so yeah, Earthwatch Europe.
Right, I'll find that in a moment too. But the question was, okay, we live in East Cambridgeshire. How will I get to know who is already involved in doing measurements in East Cambridgeshire? That's the first question. And then second question, if there's nobody involved in doing it, how do we actually move to a stage of encouraging people to get involved?
Well, ironically, we've just run the Great UK Water Blitz. You can see the results online. We've just released the results of our findings, and Cambridgeshire came off as one of the worst places in the country.
Yeah, I was going to say, I thought I'd listened to that on the news recently.
I'm not sure who is regularly testing around there. Again, I think your best bet would be, if it will be someone with using our kits, is to email water@earthwatch.org.uk, ask the question. We can have a look and see which groups are active locally, if any. If not, then make some inquiries. It will require finding some funding for yourselves. Again, like I said earlier, whether it's just a private group that want to do it voluntarily, or whether you can approach an organisation or your local council, and then you can start making some inquiries and get some kits and start testing.
Yeah, I mean, we've just become a community interest company, and I've currently filling in the bank account details to get a bank account. Yeah, okay, so yeah, no, that's fine, it's great. Thanks.
Again, the UK Water Blitz we are going to be running again in September. So in September, anyone can sign up as an individual. You'll be sent out a single test for nitrates and phosphates, and you'll have the opportunity to go out, test your local river, lake, pond or stream. And then your data will be collected, analysed on a completely national level. And again, we'll be able to find out and find that snapshot of the overall health of the UK water bodies.
And that Water Blitz report is on the website as well, I assume. Yes. Brilliant. Thanks.
Anyone else got any questions? Oh, I've got two people. Mike's back. Mike, please go ahead.
Yeah, Sam, I just wondered, are you directly connected with the River Wye citizen science project and all of that data and so on and so forth?
I'm not. So I've been sort of more focusing on the even load down here in our Cotswolds, but we can find out who has been monitoring around by you.
Well, I was just wondering. I don't know how your organisation works, but and it just seems to me that there needs to be some sort of, if there isn't, and I expect there must be, but if there isn't, that there's some sort of coordination between what's happening here, because there's an awful lot of people in this citizen science project doing a huge amount of work on a regular basis, and all of the information has been collected and monitored and analyzed. And if you guys are already doing something like that, then maybe when you get people who want to get involved in the why, you head them in our direction, or maybe vice versa, or whatever, or maybe it's already happened. I don't know. I'm not that clear.
Well, there's lots of groups out there using different methodologies. So a lot of them are using digital data collection kits. They're called hanometers. Again, we use our kits just because they're fairly easy to standardize and foolproof to get wrong. Other people have been able to get the funding and are collecting data samples and sending them off to labs, and then they really are scientific. I think our major issue is at the minute is we need to get the Environment Agency to start accepting whatever data people are collecting, because they're just so reluctant to accept anything because of the risk of, incorrectly calibrated machines if you're using a piece of equipment. Ours, I just don't know their reasons for not. But I think that's going to be the biggest win, is if we can get the Environment Agency to actually start accepting our data, even if they just use our data as a red flag warning sign to say, look, there's something wrong here. You need to come out and investigate.
John, how about you, please? John Payne, you got your hand up?
Yep, sorry, I couldn't get my muted. What can I ask for? What all of you think about a campaign which we learnt about yesterday when we went to a local XR group in Abergavenny, which we don't normally go to, and it's the Dirty Waters campaign, and this is primarily concerned with sewage, which is probably more of a problem on the Usk, when on the Wye it's the chicken shit. And it's a campaign which is to give prominence to the local population about the dangers of river pollution, and asking them to take action by actually refusing to pay their sewage bills, the component of their water bill that relates to sewage.
Yep, I have a few people I know that
We all lost Sam, or is it just myself?
Yes, I've lost her too.
Yes, I've lost her.
Yeah, me too.
Okay, let's see what happens.
She's lost. I'm sure she.
Sam has done me a huge favor, because the person who was due to give the banter session this week suddenly discovered they were going to be in Glastonbury for the festival, and they didn't think the Wi-Fi coverage would suit. So Sam pitched in at the last minute, because she and I had been involved on another discussion about setting up another banter group. And I said I would be prepared to help her if she'd be prepared to pitch in. So she's done this on very short notice. I'm very grateful. But we may look at the roster altogether, haven't we?
Is anybody monitoring whether she's sitting in a waiting room or something?
We don't have a waiting room on these calls. Everyone comes straight in.
Right.
So I suspect she's had some sort of issue at her end. Bonnie, would you like to ask your question if it's a general one, or is it specifically for Sam?
It was specifically for her. It's just really regarding the Environment Agency. There she is.
Okay, well done.
The gremlins are having a good time with me today.
Oh, you got an excuse, Sam. I was just explaining to everybody how you'd helped out by coming in at the last minute. So if the gremlins are taking advantage, that's not really your fault. So do you remember where you got to before we all lost
I
you?
was. So we were talking about withholding the sewage part of your water bill. There are people that are doing it. Obviously, it's a risk. It's of giving you a nice red mark against your financial and your credit. And you've also got to really understand why you're doing it, so that when the bailiffs come knocking on your door, because they will, you've got to have your argument, and you've take that.
The gremlins strike again.
I wonder if Sam can hear us.
I can now.
Okay, 'cause one way to make this a bit easier is you might be able to turn off your video and that
Yes.
come through on audio, and that would reduce the amount of call you're having on.
There we go. So did anyone hear what I just said, or shall I start again?
Start again, Sam.
Phil?
You hear us? No.
Perhaps if we turned our videos off so there's less data going back in the opposite direction for her, it might help.
We can try.
Looks like we might have to call it a day.
Oh, we heard that, Sam.
That wasn't Sam. It was Bonnie. Sam, are you there? Oh, you're there, Sam. Good.
I'm here. I'm here. I can't see any of you, and my picture's not working. But yes, my goodness. So I've had to change from my Wi-Fi to my phone's hotspot, and I think everything's just getting too hot.
We've turned off our cameras to reduce the data for you, Sam, in case that.
Well, that's why I can't see you.
Yeah, so no panic. That's not a glitch our end. That's us trying to help.
Thank you all so much. So start again. So withholding the sewage part of your water bill is risky. You could end up credit rating. Make sure that you've got your facts and your story solid, so that when the bailiffs come knocking on your door, which they inevitably will, you've got to know exactly your reasons for withholding that sewage part of your water bill. Evidence will help, and just be willing to then take that to court as well. They don't want me.
Okay, that's a fact statement. I'm afraid I've lost track of who had their hand up at the line. Is there anyone else with a question for Sam, please? Oh, Bonnie, there you go. Yeah, sorry.
Sam,
hi, Bonnie.
Excellent presentation, thank you. So I'm a trustee of Pace Manningtree, and we've been doing a citizen science project for a little while with the store. I think mostly with the Riverfly project. The question I've got is in relation to some of the data, because I had a somewhat heated debate with a lot of people about this, because it seemed to me, and perhaps you can correct me if I'm wrong, that the Environment Agency may be going to collect our data, but not necessarily do anything about it. And so one of the things that matters to me on a personal level, I'm one of the Manningtree mermaids. We swim in our river. and we've done similar sort of in parallel with the PACE citizen science stuff. We've also been doing that as part of the Mermaids group, and recently applied to DEFRA and been awarded bathing water status. But we've actually found that the most dangerous in terms of E. coli, which is what seems to be affecting us, the most dangerous place is actually next to the treated sewage, not the untreated sewage, because that's where there's the most antibiotic resistant bacteria is with the treated sewage. Now, my understanding is that regardless of that evidence that we've now started to collect, the Environment Agency aren't going to do anything anyway. They may accept the data, but they can't do anything. Am I wrong?
This is an argument I've been having with the Environment Agency for a while now. I agree. The treated effluent that's being returned into our rivers is not good enough quality. The Environment Agency, they've said themselves that that treated effluent is still not safe to swim in. It's not safe for humans. It's not safe for animals. It is of poor quality. Basically, I go back to my point. All they're doing at most sewage treatment works is taking out the big bits. They're taking out anything bigger than 6 millimeters. They then put it through an aerator so that your good bacteria can somewhat eat some of your bad bacteria. It then settles and gets returned back to the river. What we need to fight for is stronger regulations, stronger rules, and make sure that the permits of those sewage treatment works are treating that water to a higher quality. I think that's our way around it. I had an argument with the Environment Agency last week. They've just spent £22 million updating a sewage treatment works locally to me, but they've not put any chemical strip on it. All they're doing is they've just raised the capacity, but they're still going to be discharging water which is safe for us.
It's a bit just disheartening. I think there's so many people putting so much effort into the citizen science and monitoring the quality of the water, but for what if they aren't going to be able to do anything about making it better?
So that we can shout for change, that regulation needs to be changed, the permits need to be changed. My local sewage works permit is over 40 years old. And every time I talk to the Environment Agency, I say, when are you going to get the permit updated? When are you going to get this permit updated? It needs to be raised up so that the quality is improved. And then once that permit has been updated and improved, the water companies have to abide by it. At the minute, because the permits are so rubbish, the water companies are not breaking any rules because they're complying with the permit. Does that make sense?
It does. Yes. So just to go a little bit back on it then, in terms of the permit and what we might be able to do locally, because it's the sewage works that's causing the biggest issue. When you're saying get the permit updated, do you mean that today's standards wouldn't allow them to do this, but because the permit is old, they can do it, or even today's standards are too low?
I say I think it really needs a serious look at.
Right.
I mean, for me, I haven't even got phosphate mentioned on our sewage treatment works. So, you know, just getting phosphate levels added to that permit would instantly be a quick win. I say quick. You know, it would be an improvement.
Right. Okay. Thanks.
Suggesting is you can get hold of those permits from your sewage treatment works via freedom of information. So you can email your water companies, go, please can I see the permit for this sewage treatment works? The other thing I suggest is, please can you send me a network map, the exact area that this sewage treatment works is serving? And then from there, it gets a bit more baffling for me, and sort of see what the levels of phosphate, for example, they are allowed to release. Then Environment Agency has and should have an open data for you to go on to and see what their tests have been, because they should be going out and monitoring these effluent tests that water companies take. So it's very long-winded, it gets quite technical, but there is a way of snooping around and seeing what they're actually doing.
Interesting. Good to know. Thanks so much.
Oh, that's fine.
Sam, I'm very conscious that you've got another meeting to run to, so let me just check to see if everyone has asked the questions they want to ask. This is your last gone movement. So let me just reiterate, please, Sam, thank you so much for what was an invigorating and frightening presentation. And
I'm
I
sorry.
hope we're all moved to come and join you in your efforts. Thank you so
Yeah,
much
and
for your time.
what I'd like to add is if you do see signs of something suspicious or pollution, then please report it to the Environment Agency. The more we ask and report these things, the more likely it is for them to come out and check it out and have a look at what's going on. A lot of water companies have the same procedure. You can phone them up and report pollution as well. I know Thames is quite good. They promise they should be there within 2 hours. But yeah, please don't feel disheartened. I know that it's quite a scary subject. But I know Jennifer's also given a presentation previously earlier in the year. If you've got any questions, go back and watch her presentation as well, because she does provide a lot more answers towards the end of that presentation. So no, there's tools, there's help, there's support out there.
Brilliant. Thank you very much, Sam. For everybody, that we will be putting this presentation and Sam's video and the chat session and the AI summary of it all up on the wiki in the next day or two. Next week, I won't be here. I'll be somewhere in the south or middle of the Atlantic, but Jules Thompson will be back telling us more stories of how we should be running things. And Bonnie, I expect you'll be helping you out on that. So I do hope you'll all come back next week. And in the meantime, Sam, thank you so much and goodbye to you all. Take care.